So it's my honor and privilege to introduce Taylor Gahm. Taylor has inspired me with his integrity, his drive, and his honesty. He is also a TED Talking, award-winning, chart-topping, critically acclaimed, nationally published, what? Oh, yeah. Critically acclaimed and nationally published, multi-talented storyteller, communications consultant, and speaker. That's Taylor. Please welcome him.
So I'm totally not wearing the exact same thing in that picture. I can't believe I asked Kate to perform before me. Like, next time I need to ask like a way less talented person. I really had some super clever stuff to say to you guys today to make me look cool about how much I know about freedom. And I think, it's crazy because just hearing Kate, like she said, we're part of a group of friends, or you could call it a community, and I've been part of the community for, 2 or 3 years, and we kind of just get together, and I think it's people that are just tired of trying to be free and are ready to be free. Does that make sense? Do you guys resonate with this trying versus being thing? And so she plays a song, Down, which is very meaningful for both of us. This is all off script, by the way. And it's just, for me, it was a time when we were both just like hitting the ground hard and in a place where we couldn't fake it anymore. I don't know why in the world I asked you to play that song before I tried to communicate effectively with people. I had to leave and go cry, to be honest. Because as preparing for this talk, I really wanted to be able to resonate with people and talk about freedom. And like I said, I kind of scripted all these things out, and I still got some things that we'll hit on. But my hope was really that I'd be able to communicate effectively about what it really means to be free. And I realized, like, for me, like we say, just be yourself, right? Like, why do we have to say that? There's only one you in the whole world. Think about it. You're yourself by default. But I think being yourself is one of the hardest things to do for a human being until you do it, right? And that's the easiest thing in the world. And for me as an artist, there's the trying to be myself, right? Which is like scripting what I'm going to say to you guys today, which is nothing wrong with that, right? But I feel like as I'm just like present right now, I'm like more in tune with what I actually wanted to share with you, which was like this not trying and this just like being and kind of letting myself just be who I am, because I'm so tired of faking it. I'm so tired of performing. Like, I hate that word. I hate that word, performing. Is anybody resonating with this? I know you are. As artists especially, there's this idea that you can do anything you put your mind to. Like, it's so not true. It's not. I can put my mind, no matter how much of my mind I put towards me becoming pregnant and having a baby, it's not going to happen, right? And that's obviously a silly example, but I think there's an intent in the idea, right, of you can do anything you put your mind to. I think there's good intentions in that idea, but I kind of want to deconstruct it because it's just, categorically untrue, right? For me, when I think of being an artist and a creative for over a decade, I reframe that statement with, you can't do anything you put your mind to, but you'll be amazed at who you find yourself to be if you put your mind to letting yourself have the freedom to be your true self, right? So you're not, like, I'm never going to play in the NBA. I'm not. It's never going to happen. And that's not because I'm like a quitter. It's because I'm a realist, right? And I have limitations. And as artists, like, I think when we talk about freedom, limitations breed creativity. Limitations breed freedom. Like, me knowing my limitations actually helps me stay in line and focused with what I'm really made for and how I'm wired. So I'm not going to spend any time trying to play basketball because I know I'm not made to play basketball. It doesn't mean I'm a quitter. It doesn't mean I'm selling myself short. I've fully kind of grasp that I'm never going to be pregnant. That'd be kind of sweet, though. I don't know why I said that out loud. I'm just going to keep the filter off. Why not? And I'm never going to play basketball. And there's tons of things. That's my phone. That's so rude. It's like, whose phone is on? That is... Reminder to turn my phone off. Sweet. That's sweet. Sorry about that. Not really. I meant to do that. It's freedom. I was talking about being pregnant. What was I saying? Doesn't matter. Talking about being freedom. So for me, like understanding the limitations of who I am actually helps put me on the path of who I am and what I'm made to do and how I'm made to do it. And so for me, like it kind of gets me back to this idea of trying to be free versus actually being free. I think there's a vulnerability. Like with art, for me, I started making art, I guess in like 2002. I was waiting tables for a while, and I hated my life. There's nothing wrong with waiting tables. I just got to the point where I just hated. I hated being at work. I hated it. And I got a job doing, I don't know, some stupid job after that for like 3 months. And then finally a friend of mine that I knew asked me over to his house, and he was probably 10 years older than me. And he had all this gear, like video gear. And this was, 12 years ago. And this was like kind of the beginning of the technological, digital kind of revolution thing. And he's showing me all this like camera gear and stuff. And he's like, yeah, I just spent $40,000 buying this gear on a credit card because I'm going to start a business and I'm going to make wedding videos. And I was just like, you are crazy and I want to be around you like all the time. And this guy actually was a huge influence on my life because he showed me like, yeah, you can't do anything you put your mind to, but like you'll be surprised what you can put your mind to. And I'm like, well, I have to have a crappy job, right? Having a crappy job is part of being a human being and part of an American. You got to have a crappy job so you can make money and you can have money in retirement so that you can have a crappy life after you retire, and then you can die with money in your bank account, and it's just life is crappy, and that's, you just deal with it, and it sucks because we're free. And I saw this guy that was just like, man, 40 grand, cool, and I was just like, you're crazy. And he was crazy. And that's a silly, crazy thing to do, but he went for it and he showed me. And I remember we'd book these, oh my gosh, I just realized we're like on a set, a play, like a film, a theater. We booked these like high school gigs where we would shoot high school plays, and we were shooting on digital, but we were exporting to VHS, and we were like hawking these videos on VHS to like the parents of these kids. And I saw like checks come in, and I'm seeing, I guess like $20 a piece, and we're making like, $2,200 for one show. And I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. You can actually do this. You can generate something. Like you can actually just decide to create and put your mind to it, and it's within your skill set, and you can actually make something happen. Like that has forever, ever affected me. And what's crazy is I worked for the guy for 6 months, and I was like, dude, I can do this on my own. His name was Mark, and I love him and I miss him. He's no longer with us. But I started, I was just a dreamer, and I started my own wedding business, and I don't know how I did it, but I did 26 weddings in my first year of business, which, if you're counting, is like one every other week, which is crazy. And then I was so bored making these wedding videos after, I think, my first wedding. But I remember it was funny, like, I remember meeting with my dad. We went to this restaurant, and I was like, after just being like kind of a mess until then in just every aspect of my life, I was just like, Dad, I know what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I'm going to make wedding videos. And I look back on 20 whatever year old Taylor, and I'm like, dream bigger, dude. Want more. But it was just so amazing. I was like, I can actually go to work and sit behind a non-linear editor, and I can make stuff, and I can tell stories. And very quickly I gravitated to the story, because at that time people were doing a 10-set VHS wedding delivery, and they give you all this raw footage, and I was like, this is boring. I want to tell stories. And so I created this format that was new for me, and it was new for Houston. I was like, man, if I got to be shooting these videos, I'm going to make awesome wedding videos. And I started telling stories, and I shot everything in slow motion. production, and I was like had these algorithm software that would convert footage from 30 frames a second to 24, which is like not a big deal right now. But 12 years ago, no one was doing it. They didn't have 24p consumer cameras. So I'm like making these things look like movies, and I'm finding these, why does video not look like film? And I'm putting on this like just creative generative energy, and I start realizing like, I'm really good at telling stories. Like, I want to do music videos. And this band that I was working with, is my zip run done? Okay, cool. Just checking. These are the things you think about when everyone's looking at you. Are you enjoying this? Or is my zip, dang it. I remember like, I want to shoot a music video. And my friend, his girlfriend was like, hey, we want to shoot an EPK, which is an electronic press kit. And they're like, we want you to like interview us. And we want to talk about being a band. And we want to get labels to like, want to sign us and whatever. 2003, music industry wasn't completely dead at that time. There's like one person in the entertainment industry like, you preach it, brother. Anyway. And I was like, no, we're not going to do an EPK. Why would we talk about making music? Why would we talk about why you want to be a band? Just be a band. Let's shoot a music video. No one's shooting music videos at this independent level. Let's put all your budget into shooting a music video, and let's go ham on Google that, making a music video, Kanye West. Let's make this amazing, amazing music video. And I think it was $4,000, and I put every penny. I rented a camera that I couldn't afford, a real high-end HD camera at that time. I paid someone to help me turn it on. And I just went for it. I made this music video, and this band got signed like a month later. And then this other band's like, hey, you got this band signed. We want to work with you. And I did a music video, same thing, but we want an EPK. I was like, no, you don't want an EPK. Let's shoot music videos. And in fact, let's do an EPK, but let's shoot 3 30-second clips of a music video, of 3 music videos, and we'll put an EPK together and have you like run your mouse for a little bit, and we'll put these little clips and we'll make it look like you've been a band for a really long time and you have all these music videos. And we did it. And they like shopped, and these labels would be like, we want to see the whole video. And I was like, me too, but it doesn't exist. I think I don't know. We might have done one of them as a full video. I don't remember. But then they got signed to Maverick, which is Madonna's record label. And then this was like 2004, and then boom, it was over. For me, by over, I mean not over. I mean, it was like crazy. I was working every day. I was getting phone calls from around the world. I was getting crazy gigs. I started shooting music videos. I started doing photography. I just started going for it. I mean, bands would like, and actually that band that got signed to Maverick was like, we want you to shoot our band photos. And I never shot photos. Like, I'm a rare person too, because I like got into video before photography. And I was like, cool, do you do photography? I'm like, yes, absolutely. And I've taken that spirit with me throughout my whole career. Like, yes, if you guys need anything creative, let me know, because I do it. I don't know what you need, but I do it. That's how it works. And so for me, I had this career that was amazing, and I found myself just submerged in creative and art and generativity and creativity and just making awesome stuff. And it was just like so amazing. And then I started to realize, I got married, and I started to realize that I was doing making all this awesome stuff that was beautiful, aesthetically beautiful, but I had this platform to say anything I wanted, and I realized I wasn't really saying anything. You know, I had these beautiful pictures, and I love color and composition and lighting and contrast, and I could talk art and tension and release. Like, I love these conversations. But I just was like kind of feeling a little empty. Like, I realized like it got to the point, I knew there was a problem when bands would say, hey, how much for a photo shoot? And the first thing in my mind was like, I gotta like carry my cases around, which is not a good thing for a creative person, right? I started to realize that it was A, becoming about money, and B, becoming about like, I don't even want to do this anymore. And so I was in this weird place. I was at the peak of my career. This is like end of 2008. I was like kind of at the top of my game, and I just wasn't feeling it anymore. And I was just bored, and I couldn't do it, and I just didn't care. And I thought I've talked about this publicly a lot. And even recently, I've kind of unpacked it a little bit more, and I think there's a part of me that was burnt out and wanted something new. I kind of wanted to like let go of the old thing so that the new thing could come, which is actually a good side note, like on relationships and freedom. Like, sometimes we hang on to like crappy jobs and crappy relationships because we're afraid. We're afraid to actually be free, right? And that's kind of where I was. I was hanging on to something that was once life-giving and was now just kind of producing death. That's a strong word, but That's how it felt. And so I just left, and I think some of it was self-sabotage too, because I felt, well, if I leave at the top of my game, like these rappers like Jay-Z's like, I'm retiring, sweet, generate a bunch of publicity, and then you're back 4 months later or whatever. But I really think that there was also some self-sabotage. I was like, well, I'm at the top of my game, so there's only one way I'm going to go from now, and I'm so exhausted trying to stay at the top, I'm just going to leave, and that way, peace out. Like, I left at the top. It's my choice, not yours. You can't decide that I'm no longer worthy of telling stories on a public forum. So I did. And there's, it wasn't like a dichotomy. It wasn't like a binary thing. It wasn't one or the other. It was just like a culmination of events. So I just bailed. And me and my wife lived in a camper and traveled for a year. And it was awesome. And traveled all over the U.S. And I thought after a year, like, okay, maybe I'll get back this creative gene. Maybe I'll get this inspiration back. Surely a year off is going to help. A lot of crazy stuff happened that year. I got back, and it wasn't there. I wanted to create less than I did when I left. I was just done. And I realized that there was a problem, because I really thought it was going to fix me. I thought not doing anything would fix me. So I just worked some crappy jobs, to be honest. I worked some humbling jobs. I made a ton of money before I quit and left, and then I actually ended up working for a couple guys separately, like kind of project managing, that used to work for me. It was humbling. Like, it was humbling. I hated it, and I love those guys, and you know who you are, looking in the cameras. I love those guys, but it was humbling. It was so humbling. Just thinking about it right now is like making me like, ugh. I know I should have learned like the lesson. Like, no, it's great. It's like, no, that sucked. And so like 1 year passed after being back. So, a year off and then a year of being back passed. And I think maybe a second year passed, or maybe like 2011. I'm just still haven't created anything. And I'm managing these guys' creative projects, and I just like don't care. It's just like, I just got to eat. I got to make money. I thought after I got back, I'd have some epiphany and be rich again, and I wasn't. And it was just weird. But then I had this idea. I had this idea about sexual objectification. And I had something to say, this idea of like connection versus consumption. And I had this vision of like a Victoria's Secret model in her lingerie, and then like text on the image that said, I'd rather be with my kids. Or like an image of, like kind of like a risky image, PG-13 image of a woman, and then kind of have this text that says like porn shows too little. I just had like these ideas that I kind of wanted to share. And so I started to slowly put it together. I took like existing imagery, and I'm not going to go into the Rehumanize right now. You can look it up online if you're interested. But the point is, like, I had something to say that I felt was generative, and I was actually really passionate about it. I was like, I want to say this. I want to say this. I want to invite people into this. And I want to do this. But I was so used to telling other people's stories, right? Just telling like safe, pretty stories. I made eye candy, and candy's good. Candy tastes good. I'm not going to shrink back. I was really good at making eye candy. But this was the first time I ever made anything that was pretty and beautiful and aesthetically rich, that had something to say. And so I showed this exhibition at a church. And the first time I remember showing that, like right as the doors opened, it hit me. And I was like, what in the world am I doing? Like, it hit me that I was telling a story. I was actually saying something. I was saying something that was like from my heart. Like, I actually had something to say. It wasn't just pretty art. And I realized that was the first time in my career that I ever said anything. And it was terrifying. It was terrifying. Any of you resonate with this? You're artists. How many artists, creatives? Is it pretty much everybody? Put your hand. Yep. The other people just are lazy, which makes you an artist. Yeah, and that kind of set me on this journey. And then at that time is actually how, inadvertently, that's how I met Kate and these other friends that we had. And I think I was invited into that community because people I think maybe saw like I was doing what they were doing. And the community wasn't an art community, but it was like, okay, this guy's wanting to be free. This guy has something to say. He wants to be free and doesn't want to be safe. And so for me, like, I think that's where we want to go. Like, that to me, like, art isn't just something that you do it can be. If you just want to make art to make pretty stuff and it's enjoyable to you, like, do that. Like, I did that for years, right? But for me, like, what I want to invite you into and remind myself as I'm inviting you into is like our art is like our vehicle that takes us to a place where we get to like discover and unpack who we really are. We get to find out like how much we have. Like I said, you can't do anything you put your mind to, but you'll be amazed at who you are when you put your mind to like unpacking. And this vehicle of art and creativity is what takes us into that place of discovering who we are. Like putting yourself out there, right? This vehicle runs on freedom too, right? Because you have to give yourself freedom to put yourself out there. And you got to be free. You got to give yourself permission to fail, right? You got to say, hey, I got something to say. And you put it out there, and either you didn't tell it artistically, maybe the craft wasn't there, or maybe what you had to say wasn't, that interesting. Like, we've all done that. But, like, you have to, like, freedom. So we're talking about freedom. I have some points to make here. I'm trying to get to them. So with freedom, giving yourself permission to fail. Like, think about our culture, right? You know how they got these, like, epic fail memes online? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, fail. Like, I watched a snowboarding video of this guy. It was entitled Epic Snowboarding Fail. Dude flies down a mountain faster than I've ever been in a car, hits a bank, does like a backflip, like 4 backflips, probably goes 100 feet, and lands like face first in a snowbank. Fluffy powder goes everywhere, and the guys in the video like, fail, and all these comments, fail. And I'm like, dude, that's not a fail. You commenting fail on this video is a fail. You know what I'm saying? Dude did 100 feet with 4 backflips. That is not a fail. And I think it's crazy that we have this like culture, this epic fail culture. Like, I want to fail. I want to fail. I want to learn. And we need that freedom as artists. And I feel like today is going pretty well for me, I'll say right now. And I can tell you that I'm taking a huge risk right now because I'm so addicted to performance. Like, I knew when I did this talk, I talked to Irma and Shauna and said, every time I do a talk, I always script it out. Every word. I like spend time, generative, creative time, thinking of ideas, birthing these ideas and just getting them all on paper. And then I like craft them and I capture this essence and this energy. And I call them charges. Whether I'm writing something profound or doing comedy, like I find these charges. Like whenever I do comedy, I know something's funny when it makes me laugh when I write it. And then when I keep coming back to it, if it keeps making me laugh. And that charge diminishes the more I tell it and see it. But I have to just remember, like, that has a charge. And you get to the point where you're telling jokes that you don't think are funny anymore. But, like, they have charges, and you share these charges. And so like, I knew that I wanted to not script this, And it doesn't mean that I, like, just half-hacked it. I was just like, I'm going to show up and see what happens. Kind of did. No, I made this, like, here's like, my safety net, which is, like, just a safety net. Like, I need that. I knew I just wanted to be free. Talking about freedom to fail, like, I didn't really have a script for what I want to talk to you, but I know that there was something in me of, like, creativity, and I want freedom. I want freedom for myself. I'm, like, dying. I'm dying for freedom. And even after, like, making art for over a decade, I'm still finding myself fighting and struggling for freedom. And then last night I, like, panicked. I was like Joe Bluth. It's like, I've made a huge mistake. And so I made that safety net, and I'm like, well, if it all goes downhill, just start reading off the paper, because that'll be interesting. And then even the paper, like, right when Kate got here, and she's just, like, looking at me, and she's like, I'm so happy to be here. I just want to connect with you. And I'm like, I want to connect with you too, but I just need to get this right, I want to perform. And then she starts playing. I just went back and started bawling. It's like, she's being freedom right now, and I'm getting ready to talk about it. And I love that recentered me, And then I just, like, showed up, and what you're getting from me right now is a huge risk, right? Because I didn't know if this was going to work, My wife thinks I talk a lot, and it's not always as interesting to her. So freedom. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for being freedom today to get me back on track, Kate. What else do we need freedom from? Freedom to feel. I'm so excited about what I'm about to say. There's no way it'll be misinterpreted. Freedom to feel what we feel. Have you seen these other memes online, like first world problems, or the hashtag first world problems? Like, oh, I can't find an outlet for my cell phone, like first world problems. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Or am I? Okay, cool. And there's like the YouTube video out there that has like, they have like these third world kids. I just filtered myself. That was awesome. I was like, are they called black kids? They're not African American kids because they're African kids. Sorry. There's these third world kids reading like quotes of first world problems, like my house is so big it's hard to like get from my like kitchen to my bedroom, and you know there's not enough outlets for my iPad and my laptop and my iPhone. And I'll give you this, right? Like I like the spirit of that. That's kind of like saying don't take yourself too seriously, right? Like the people around the world like have it worse. Like other people have it worse. And I agree with that. And I think that's centering. So this is a yes and moment, okay? I don't disagree with that essence. But also what happens when you start telling that narrative, you introduce shame, right? You introduce shame for feeling your feelings. So guess what? I have an iPhone and I get really upset when it dies or when it runs out of battery, because guess what? I don't live in a third world country. I'm thankful for that, but I live in a first world country. I'm an artist. The tools of my trade are technology. If my iPhone doesn't work, I can't talk to my clients. If my computer crashes, I can't operate Photoshop. I'm proud to admit I have first world problems, and I allow myself to feel that, because when I start invalidating my feelings, I start to think that I'm less than, and I start to push myself aside, and I let myself be less human. And I start comparing myself to other people, and by trying to make other people more worthful, I make myself worth less. So it's good. Keep it in mind, right? Like keep it in mind that it's always worse for someone else, but you can't live out of that space. So first world problems, I get it. It's a funny meme. It's a funny hashtag. But let yourself have first world problems. We live in the first world. Like be present. This is where we are. You know, when a third world farmer's shovel breaks, he probably gets pretty mad about it. And that's a real problem to him. And so my problems are real too. You know, and like, you know, so I'm done with that topic. That was fun. I threw my safety net away. What else? Anybody else love me? Want to shout it out? Where are we at on time? Is that like 20 probably? I had a timer. So I wrote something on the... oh, yeah. So on the name tags, right? What's the question? I forgot. I wrote it. If you could do anything for a year, I would. I just want to hear, like, what would you do? Just shout them out. Travel the world. Who said travel the world? Raise your hand really high. Okay, what are you doing to travel the world right now? Not a damn thing. Anybody else? What else? I think you said, you travel? Awesome. What kind of traveling do you do right now? Sweet. Detroit's awesome. It really is. My dad's from Detroit. So you're actually traveling. How many times have you traveled in this year? We're 5-6 months in. Cool. Who else? What else? They said travel. What are you doing? Go to Minneapolis? Who said that? Yep. Oh. Your voice carried to the back of the room. What else? Some of the other things. What would you do for a year? A year sabbatical that might have changed your mind. I'll be the one telling the jokes today. I might come back to that. What else? Let me hear it. This is participatory. Hula hoop. You want to hula hoop more in the next year? Do you have a hula hoop? Are you hula hooping now? Is there like a league of hula hoopers? Is there really? Are you into it? Are you doing it? Is there like a championship or something like that? Are you training towards that? I don't like things that aren't competitive. You and your hoop? That's fantastic. The reason I put this question out there is because in the spirit of freedom and you being able to do anything you put your mind to, this is my last story. A really close friend of mine has wanted to be an actor his whole life. He's my age. And when he was really young, he got married and he had 2 kids. I think he was under 20. He's really young, and so for a lot of his life, he had to take care of his kids. That was a legitimate thing. I'm glad he did that. He was a good dad, and he worked hard. And then now his kids are grown up enough to the point they're in their teens, late teens, pushing age of accountability, whatever, 18 years old. And he got married, and his wife is in a place where She has a good job, and so she doesn't need him to bust his butt just to like work and make money. And she gave him this beautiful gift, right? And said, I don't want you to work. Like, you want to be an actor. I want you to be an actor. And this is just my closest friend. And it was amazing to watch what happened. He was given this opportunity, and for probably 6 months, he was just frozen. Just frozen. It was a deer in the headlights. Maybe even a year. And it got to this point where he kind of took some steps towards it. But it showed me, and this is me being honest, like it was like putting a mirror up to myself, in some ways, of like the excuses that we make. And again, he had real obligations, right? He needed to take care of his kids, and I'm like honored that he's my friend and the job that he's done to take care of his kids at his own expense and it was a great weight for him to do this as a single dad. But it's just interesting to see what happened when those obligations were taken out of the way, and I realized, and he realized, like how much the yes and was that he spent a lot of time making excuses that he can't pursue what he wants because he has to do this, right? And so the reason I asked you like what you would do is because if you want to travel, or if you want to be a famous actor, or does anybody have any grandiose plans, like just really big? Like, is there something stupid big that you want to do? Anybody? You want to fly a jetpack? What are you doing to like fly a jetpack right now? See, are you getting any right now? A little bit? Hater. I'll take that. The idea is that you might not, like my dream is I want to make movies. I want to make a TV show. I've been developing a TV show for a year. I do not have the money to make a TV show. I do not have the money to make a movie. But I have a laptop with a word processor, and it doesn't cost me anything to write a script. And so I started a year ago doing comedy. I started doing stand-up. I started investigating, like, how do jokes work? What is the structure of the joke? What does it mean to set up attention and then provide a release? And I started doing comedy, and I wrote a short film that, in hindsight, was a good first short film. I guess I gave myself permission to fail. But that's a good insight into my personality. It's on the film festival circuit right now. It's in 7 different festivals. And I don't think it's good enough, right? And that's my own stuff, and I'm working through that. But I'm like putting myself out there. I'm like working, I'm making films now. I'm making short films on no budget. I'm getting myself out there. And this isn't pat on the back, and I need to hear this more as I tell you. But whatever your dreams are, whatever you want to do, I want to encourage you. I want you to live your dreams. I want you to go big. Don't try to bite the whole thing off at once if you can't bite the whole thing off at once. But just be honest with yourself, and I've been stasis. I've just been in stasis, honestly, for the past 3 or 4 months. That's just my honesty. Because I'm just kind of waiting for something to fall in my lap, and now I'm finally getting up and getting back on the horse and doing what I need to do. So I just want to encourage you, right? Like don't buy into your excuses, but also honor your commitments. Like honor that you maybe have a full-time job that you can't quit right now that's healthy, and it's just what you're doing, and you just can't quit. Like feel what you feel, be where you are, right? But get out there, like do it, do something. Hula hoop. I'm feeling you, right? Right? Get on the jetpack. Go rent one. I think they have like water jetpacks. Like just do it. Like talking about doing something is not the same as doing it, right? And so that's what I want to leave you with. Get out there and do and create and be productive. Thank you very much. Q&A? Are we going to do a Q&A, or are we out of time? We're good? You want me to just go for it? Not all at once. When have I felt most free? The last 20 minutes was seriously everything I wanted out of today. I feel free. I feel free when I'm just daring to be myself. It takes a huge risk to like be me. Like I said, I really wanted to come out here today and just like be cool and try to make you laugh and just try. And my centering thought as I came out was just like, just don't try. Just be and let the cards fall. And I feel free right now. Like this is what I want to do. So. When I'm stuck, what inspires me, or where do I go for inspiration? I like this idea of feeling your feelings, right? A lot of times when I'm stuck, it's because I'm feeling something that, like, my friend tells me, like, what you resist persists, right? It's this idea of, like, when you suppress something, it's going to come back harder. So a lot of times I get stuck because I'm afraid. And I've noticed that with fear, it's hard to create when you're afraid. You know, and the opposite of fear, I think, is love. Like, I don't think love and hate are opposites. I think it's love and fear. And so for me, like, when I get unstuck, like this morning, I was really feeling the nerves. I was really feeling I've made a huge mistake. I was feeling it, and I just took out pictures. My daughter and my wife were out of town with my in-laws, and I just looked at pictures of my daughter, because it's hard for me to be afraid when I'm looking, but for me it's love, and if it's not fear, it might be something else. It might be anxiety, but usually when you're stuck, it's because you have like emotional constipation, and if you just feel it, like sometimes you just got to feel it for it to like get out of the way, and sometimes you might need to grieve something, That's a lot of what I've done in our friend group with Kate and a ton of other people is a lot about grieving, like just getting stuff out that I'd repressed since I was like a 15-year-old kid. Therapy is awesome, by the way, for real. Do it, feel your feelings. Anyone else? Got it. His question was, what kind of mentors do I seek, and maybe what kind of mentors would I recommend seeking to be free, to be you, to make art? Is that kind of the friends? Yes. What do I do to keep myself in check? Actually, that's a really good question. One thing I've done recently is I've heavily edited my friends list. And I don't mean Facebook, I mean real life. I've categorized now. I've got people that are generative in my life, that inspire me to be more of me. And then I have people that take away from that, and then I have people that want to control that. And I don't have time for the controllers, and I don't have time for the people that want to take away. And so I'm literally editing my real life friends list and seeking to be around people that are generative and co-creative. Like I didn't want to dive in too deep, but there's like online communities for some of the creative groups that I'm in that I've heard about, and it's just like toxic filth. It's just people talking crap to each other. And I have some of my people I know are like, man, did you hear what they're saying on this page? I was like, no, I didn't. I'm too busy making awesome stuff to hear other people talk crap about each other. Because criticizing is not the same as participating. And I've talked about that before too. But that, for me, the most direct answer is like, edit your friends list. And it's not about being a jerk. It's about like loving yourself, like respecting yourself and realizing, I'm 35. Hey, guess what? I forgot to tell you this. We're all going to die. Seriously, dead. You're done. You're dead. You're like, we're on this infinite time. We're screwed. It's over. Game over. We're going to die. What are you going to do? And that's something that inspires me big time. And I think with mentors, mentors just kind of show up. I think that's the thing of generativity. Like in corporate America, it's all about managing scarce resources. That's not how creativity works. Creativity is about abundance, right? And so when you start to invest and plant and create and co-create, and you're productive and you're generative, like you create experiences in your life and you draw people in. You draw people in. And that being said, too, like I thought of this idea yesterday. I have no idea where this is going, but like I'm like interested in like a once a week thing where I invite people to come hang out with me, and we have a theater, and we will do what I'm talking about, like to just be creative and generative. So if you're interested, look me up online and email me. And if there's enough of us, or if you're interested in generative creativity and maybe what you're talking about, we can co-create that thing with that spirit and that intention. So let me know. Anyone else? What is your name, young lady? Who is my daughter? My daughter. I think I just answered to someone. My daughter is unconditional love for me. Like when I met my daughter, I had no idea that it was possible to love someone like that, and it basically raised the bar for every relationship in my life. And there's like this tendency to think like, well, maybe I should like love my daughter less, because I mean this seems unhealthy. Maybe lower the bar. That was like a big moment with my marriage, because my wife's, understandably, just like, I just want you to love me more than anyone in the world, and I want that too. And then my daughter came along, I was like, nope. But it sets the bar, and it encourages me, and it inspires me to like lift that, My daughter is unconditional love, and her name means life. And she's brought life to me and everyone in our community and everyone she meets. And she's beautiful, and she's definitely an artistic muse, if that's way to say it. She asked, how do I, basically raising my daughter, how do I decide what to expose her to? Do I edit anything out of her life? What am I doing? The first note was, what am I doing to teach her freedom? And so this still applies. My daughter's 1, okay? So I'm not editing out a lot of stuff like that. I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. But I know a ton about women, so I think I'm going to be okay. Not really. No, what I'm doing to teach her freedom is really hard for me, but like she is me. Like she swings for the fences and she's just wild. She's 1 year old and she's like running around. She jumps off stuff. She like bangs her. Like I don't know if it's normal, but she's like wild. She's really wild. And so for me, like freedom, like my wife, when we see her do that, there's a tendency to be like, no, like catch. And for me, it's just like I'm trying to teach her freedom by just letting her like learn her own lessons. And so I figure like I don't let her jump off anything of a certain height, right? But it's like at some point, it's like I just gotta let her learn and be free to make mistakes. Like I said, be free to fail. Like, you know, she at a really young age like learned how to crawl on a bed, and I kind of taught her like when you get off, like turn around and kind of slide off, you know. And she did that, and a few times like she, you know, our society would say epic failed, but for me it was like that was amazing. You know, she turned around, then missed her feet and went straight to her head. So I don't know how it worked. But yeah, I'm my goal in raising my kid, and I'm a new parent. It's only been a year, but my goal is to teach my kid, and hopefully more kids. I want to have more like freedom by just like letting them be free to make mistakes, free to be themselves. And I don't know what I'm going to do with culture. I have no idea, like editing. So I'm sure that'll be fun. Anyone else? Last call. Thank you so much. This was such an honor.